Are you ready to explore the remarkable world of Amish cooking? In today's video, we'll uncover 10 ingenious hacks that generations of Amish families have used to create flavorful, cost-effective, and wholesome meals. From age-old preservation techniques to simple tricks that elevate basic recipes, you'll learn time-tested methods that can transform your kitchen routine and revolutionize the way you cook. Number 1. Sourdough starters. Many Amish families keep sourdough starters alive for years, sometimes across generations, relying on wild yeast instead of modern commercial varieties. This approach saves money, enhances flavor, and creates loaves with a distinct tang. Within an Amish community, the starter jar often sits in a warm spot near a wood-burning stove to help beneficial microbes thrive. Off-grid living can be easier when you do not have to rely on store-bought yeast, and this method ensures a reliable supply of bread dough ready to bake any day. Some families share their personal starter with neighbors, fostering a sense of mutual assistance in an Amish lifestyle. To maintain an active starter, regular feedings of flour and water at consistent intervals keep the microorganisms balanced. This tradition has become an art form among Amish people, with certain families priding themselves on preserving a specific sourdough culture for decades. In various online articles, you might find references to these antique batches, which have unique attributes like heightened acidity or faster rising times. Because the Amish typically avoid complicated machinery, all mixing is done by hand, which further preserves the texture and consistency. The resulting bread can last longer without preservatives, helping save on ingredients. Modern health-conscious cooks also appreciate this hack for its gut-friendly probiotics. By cultivating a sourdough culture, home bakers tap into a self-sufficient routine that's been perfected long before refrigeration was common. This tangible piece of culinary heritage offers dependable nourishment regardless of power supply or technology limitations. You'll find that Amish families rarely stray from the basics: unbleached flour, clean water, and careful time management. The straightforward nature of this process highlights how simplicity can yield surprising rewards in terms of flavor and sustainability. Number 2. Traditional canning insights. In the heart of Amish life, canning remains a pillar of daily sustenance, enabling families to preserve garden produce for off-season consumption. Rather than relying on store-bought goods, these households cultivate gardens packed with tomatoes, beans, beets, cucumbers, and more, then store the harvest in jars that often line entire walls. To extend shelf life, the Amish use precise techniques like water bath canning or pressure canning, passing down knowledge through hands-on demonstrations rather than written guides. Jars of stewed tomatoes, pickles, apple butter, and sauerkraut offer snapshots of homestead abundance, each sealed carefully to block harmful bacteria. An Amish documentary might show the focus on safety, checking rubber seals, sterilizing jars in hot water, and ensuring correct boiling times. Resourcefulness is crucial for off-grid living. So many families rely on wood-fired stoves or propane burners to reach the right temperature. This approach results in flavorful produce that can last for a year or more, sparing individuals from expensive grocery store runs. Even in modern kitchens, adopting this hack translates into fewer additives, richer taste, and the satisfaction of controlling your food quality. Contemporary homesteading blogs credit Amish canning strategies for preserving freshness and nutritional value. By adapting these time-tested steps, you preserve surplus vegetables and fruits, reducing waste while ensuring year-round variety. It also fosters a deeper connection with nature's cycles, because you eat what you grow, then store it at peak ripeness. Stripping away reliance on refrigeration helps individuals appreciate simple technology: boiling water, sturdy glass jars, tight-fitting lids, and the synergy between good timing and cleanliness. Amish families honor tradition while staying practical, a balance that resonates with health-minded adults. In an age of instant consumption, these canning insights reflect a slower but more resilient pace of living. Number 3. Savoring lard for baking. While modern diets focus on vegetable oils or butter, Amish cooks often prefer lard derived from hogs raised in local barns. Contrary to some misconceptions, lard can create incredibly flaky pie crusts and tender biscuits without the aftertaste you might expect. The Amish community typically harvests and renders fat right on the farm, ensuring purity and quality control. This old-fashioned approach eliminates industrial processing, giving them a clean cooking medium free from preservatives. Many Amish families store rendered lard in sealed metal containers or sturdy glass jars for long-term use, which can sit in a cool pantry or root cellar. This stable fat resists rancidity better than you might imagine, making it indispensable for off-grid living. Health considerations vary, but many adults appreciate that homemade lard, when used in moderation, contains no artificial additives and has a balanced fatty acid profile. By swapping lard for butter or commercial oils in cakes, cookies, or pastries, one can achieve textures reminiscent of vintage bakeries. Online resources show that old community cookbooks highlight lard-based recipes for fried donuts, fruit pies, and savory gravies. Because lard has a higher smoke point than some refined oils, it proves excellent for high-heat frying too. In the Amish lifestyle, self-sufficiency remains a priority, so families that raise pigs can utilize every part of the animal, minimizing waste and maximizing flavor. This approach fits neatly into a broader ethos of conservation. Discussions in off-grid forums often mention how rendering your own fat can reduce reliance on store-bought oils or expensive butters. The technique requires little equipment: a large pot for heating, cheesecloth, or a fine strainer, and airtight containers for storage. Taste testers frequently rave that once they sample pastries made with lard, they discover a new benchmark for flakiness. It underscores how a back-to-basics ingredient can redefine modern baking standards. Number 4. Root cellar reliance. Root cellars are more than relics of a bygone era. They remain crucial in Amish households, where electricity usage is minimal or non-existent. These underground or partially buried structures exploit naturally cooler temperatures and stable humidity to keep produce fresh for months. You'll see baskets of carrots, potatoes, onions, turnips, and apples neatly arranged on wooden shelves, with straw or sand sometimes used for insulation. This approach cuts down on refrigeration needs and extends the harvest lifespan without chemical preservatives. By controlling ventilation, Amish families can ensure fresh air circulates, preventing mold or mildew issues. A typical root cellar stands next to the main house for convenient access even in winter. Amish people learn from childhood how to organize produce effectively, placing items with higher sensitivity to spoilage in cooler corners. They also rotate their stocks, using older vegetables first. This hack helps keep the kitchen stocked well into harsh months, reducing grocery runs and saving money. Off-grid living enthusiasts study how to replicate such cellar designs, measuring ideal depth, moisture levels, and structural reinforcements. Some even incorporate separate compartments for different crops, as each produce type has unique humidity and temperature preferences. In Amish life, this skill is transmitted through hands-on training rather than mass-produced manuals. Tutorials on the internet now explain how to adapt the concept to modern backyards, whether you live in a rural setting or wish to convert a basement closet. This technique demonstrates the Amish emphasis on harmony with nature, using the earth itself as a low-tech refrigerator. Storing bulk produce at home allows for versatile meal planning, greater food security and reduced reliance on the grid. The root cellar remains an emblem of thrifty, forward-thinking domestic planning that resonates strongly with adult viewers seeking practical sustainability tips. Number 5. Fermentation alchemy. Beyond bread starters and sauerkraut, the Amish also ferment various foods like pickled beets, chow chow relish, and tangy peppers. Fermentation harnesses beneficial bacteria to develop complex flavors while bolstering shelf life. In Amish communities, fermenting jars often occupy prized spots in pantries, sometimes brimming with vibrant vegetables that transform over days or weeks. This process involves salting produce, submerging it in brine, and allowing controlled microbial action. The result can be crisp, sour pickles, punchy relishes, and probiotic-rich condiments that add zing to everyday meals. Off-grid cooking thrives on such methods because no electricity is required, just knowledge, salt, and patience. Amish families guard tried-and-true recipes, typically avoiding artificial preservatives or commercial vinegar. Some prefer using leftover pickle juice as a fermentation starter, maintaining a cycle that reduces waste. Temperature control plays a key role, so storing jars in a cool place keeps the fermentation slow and steady. Online search queries frequently yield references to Amish chow chow, a tangy mixture of cabbage, onions, peppers, and beans steeped in pickling spices. These relishes frequently appear at church gatherings or community suppers. Since the Amish lifestyle values frugality, fermentation helps extend harvest surplus. Children and adults alike acquire a taste for these tangy flavors, learning to appreciate natural preservation. Contemporary research also supports the health benefits of fermented foods, pointing to improved digestion and a boosted immune system. Many modern homesteaders replicate these approaches at home, recognizing that the old ways can be both cost-effective and nutritionally beneficial. Observing an Amish documentary might reveal basement shelves lined with mason jars of shimmering brine, a testament to steady, deliberate food management. This hack is about fusing tradition with necessity. The fermentation process remains relatively hands-off, requiring minimal supplies beyond jars, salt, and fresh produce. Over time, families refine their recipes, enhancing flavor profiles that have become interwoven with cultural identity and daily sustenance. Number 6. Handmade seasoning blends. While supermarket shelves overflow with spice mixes, Amish cooks often craft their own blends, ensuring that each creation uses fresh, high-quality ingredients. They might dry homegrown herbs on cloth racks or in well-ventilated barns, then grind them by hand in a mortar and pestle. Such care yields seasonings free from filler, excess salt, or synthetic anti-caking agents. Common mixtures include poultry seasoning, chili powder, and special rubs for roasts, each adjusted to reflect family preferences. This saves money, reduces waste, and aligns with off-grid living principles by relying on local resources. In Amish kitchens, you may see labeled glass jars or tin containers filled with aromatic combinations: thyme, rosemary, basil, garlic, chili flakes, or paprika. Families often pass down signature spice rubs for fried chicken or pot roast, capturing a distinctive taste that sets them apart from conventional cooking. By hand-blending seasonings, Amish community members can develop a deeper understanding of each ingredient's potency, building intuition about flavor layering. This approach resonates with adults who want to control sodium intake or avoid artificial additives. Online references suggest the practice fosters mindfulness about food origins, encouraging the use of homegrown herbs whenever possible. Minimal technology is needed. Some prefer manual grinders to preserve more essential oils, believing electric blades produce excess heat that diminishes flavor. Amish life tends to favor these slower, tactile methods that promote intimate familiarity with the kitchen environment. Sifting out stems and roots by hand requires patience, but the payoff is a potent aromatic blend ready to elevate simple dishes. Incorporating these homemade seasonings into soups, stews, casseroles, or bread dough can create memorable meals rooted in tradition. The entire process also doubles as a communal activity, where multiple family members participate in harvesting, drying, mixing, and bottling. Such shared tasks reinforce bonds and pass along practical skills that remain relevant in a modern context. Number 7. Wood-fired cooking mastery. Many Amish households still use wood-burning stoves or ovens that double as heaters during cold months. Mastering temperature control becomes an art, as cooks must gauge heat intensity by feeling the warmth of the stove surface or examining the color of the fire's embers. This off-grid living technique demands practice and vigilance. Adding logs at the right moment keeps the temperature stable for baking bread or simmering stew. Amish people learn early how different types of wood burn, with harder varieties like oak offering steady heat, while softer woods ignite faster but fade quickly. Implementing this method fosters a more deliberate, patient approach to cooking. Instead of turning a dial, you plan out meal times based on how long the stove needs to reach optimal temperature. Large stovetops can hold multiple pans, allowing simultaneous tasks like frying potatoes, warming soup, or boiling water for coffee. By focusing on efficient fuel use, Amish communities demonstrate resourcefulness. Even leftover ashes can fertilize gardens. This close interaction with the stove helps cooks develop instincts missing from purely automated setups. You'll find references in older Amish documentary features that showcase how an entire family might gather in the kitchen, enjoying the radiant warmth while discussing daily chores. Maintaining a wood stove's cast iron structure involves occasional seasoning with oil to prevent rust, mirroring how skillets are cared for. The process of cleaning out ashes daily or weekly becomes a regular chore that keeps the stove running at peak performance. Wood-fired ovens also excel at baking pizzas, pies, or cakes with a smoky undertone that electric or gas ovens can't replicate. A major benefit for adult cooks is the chance to experiment with radiant heat, discovering new techniques for browning and crisping. Though it requires more physical labor, this hack nurtures an intimate bond with the cooking process, reinforcing the Amish belief in hands-on living and minimal dependence on external utilities. Number 8. Bulk ingredient collaboration. The Amish community often practices cooperative purchasing, where several families pool resources to buy large quantities of flour, sugar, oats, or other staples directly from suppliers. This method secures better prices while ensuring a continuous supply of essential ingredients. Grains might arrive in 50-pound sacks, which are then divvied up among households to reduce overall cost. For off-grid living, having ample stores of core cooking materials is critical, especially during colder seasons when travel becomes more difficult. This bulk strategy also reduces packaging waste, as large sacks or barrels contain more product with less plastic. By storing these supplies in cool, dry areas, often basements or simple storage rooms, Amish families can maintain freshness for extended periods. Proper rotation and labeling prevent spoilage. Older stock is used first, while newer stock waits behind it. Contemporary adult audiences might be surprised at how well this system works without modern logistics software. Informal communication ensures each family knows when a new order is planned, and costs are split based on needs. This sense of unity extends to distributing homemade baked goods as well. For instance, if someone has leftover flour from a previous purchase, they might trade with a neighbor who has surplus sugar. Over time, this barter culture cuts down on reliance on standard retail settings. Community gatherings also serve as an opportunity to coordinate the next batch of orders. Documentation from Amish documentary archives reveals that these traditions have stayed consistent for generations, reflecting trust and shared responsibility. By embracing bulk ingredient storage, you avoid last-minute grocery store runs, especially in emergencies. Many homesteading enthusiasts replicate this approach, purchasing in bulk from local co-ops or warehouse clubs. This fosters independence from large retail chains and cultivates a direct relationship with suppliers. Ultimately, these collaborations illustrate how a tightly knit social network can effectively sustain everyone's pantry. Number 9. Multi-purpose kitchen tools. Since the Amish typically minimize use of electrical gadgets, they favor manual implements that serve multiple functions. A sturdy hand-crank food mill might puree applesauce, strain tomatoes, and mash potatoes. A well-made cast-iron skillet can fry, bake, roast, or even be used over an open fire. This minimalist philosophy results in fewer kitchen items overall, reducing clutter and expense. Off-grid cooking demands tools that can withstand daily wear without requiring constant maintenance or replacement parts. Simple mechanical devices, like hand-cranked mixers or grinders, give the cook total control over speed and consistency. There's no worry about circuit boards failing or power outages ruining meal prep. Observers of Amish life comment on the longevity of these tools, often passed down through generations. By investing in durable craftsmanship, families rarely need to replace items, supporting a more sustainable consumption cycle. In some Amish communities, you might spot a foot-powered treadle sewing machine next to the kitchen or a bicycle-driven washing drum. Though these aren't strictly cooking tools, they reflect the same ethos of manual operation. Adult viewers intrigued by vintage kitchenware might enjoy exploring antique shops for cast-iron griddles and hand-cranked sausage stuffers. Such tools can be refurbished and pressed into service for modern homesteads. Many blog discussions highlight how these manual methods produce superior results: fluffier mashed potatoes, smoother purees, or precisely ground grains. Another advantage lies in energy independence. If you can churn butter with a hand-cranked device, you'll always have fresh spread without plugging in an appliance. This fosters a deeper relationship with your food, as you feel each rotation of the handle and see direct results of your effort. Amish documentaries often depict families laughing together around the dinner table, with a sense of fulfillment that comes from having prepared the meal through tangible, communal labor. These multi-purpose tools ensure cooking remains adaptable, efficient, and deeply satisfying. Number 10. Meal rotation and planning. A final hack revolves around meticulous meal rotation, ensuring variety without squandering ingredients. In Amish households, staples like homemade noodles, stewed beans, baked goods, and seasonal produce are cycled throughout the week. Planning begins with what's in the pantry, jars of canned vegetables, dried grains, or cured meats, and then selecting recipes that combine these items creatively. Rather than relying on elaborate gourmet dishes, families focus on hearty, nourishing meals that can feed large groups efficiently. Batch cooking is common. If a big pot of stew is made, leftovers might be reinvented the next day, perhaps as a thickened gravy over mashed potatoes. Amish people apply this principle to baked goods too. Extra dough from a bread baking session can become cinnamon rolls or dinner rolls. By systematically rotating meal types, you reduce monotony and ensure all stored items get used before they spoil. Online sources emphasize how this approach cuts down on waste, a crucial factor in off-grid living where resources are precious. Observers might notice that meat is often stretched with vegetables and grains, forming casseroles or pot pies that offer protein without requiring large meat portions. This method reflects a thoughtful, budget-friendly stance aligned with typical Amish values of moderation. Keeping an updated inventory helps families see which items need replenishing or which surplus can be shared with neighbors. The concept extends beyond the kitchen. In some Amish communities, households coordinate communal meals for barn raising or quilting gatherings, using this same rotation logic. This deeply ingrained system fosters efficiency and reduces impulse buys. Many adult viewers find the idea appealing, recognizing the advantages of consistency in menu planning. The emphasis on whole foods, shared labor, and measured consumption provides a model for sustainable living that respects both personal health and the broader environment. By focusing on meal rotation, Amish cooks effortlessly blend practicality and tradition, ensuring that every day yields nourishing dishes prepared with care.